How many times have you started over? Monday workouts, new routines, fresh goals, new mindset, new plan. But here's the hard truth. You don't keep starting over because life is against you. You don't keep starting over because life is against you. You keep starting over because you're fully committed in the first place. You keep starting over because you were never fully committed in the first place. Welcome back to the Marcus Allgood Show. I appreciate everybody watching, listening, sharing the show. If you get any value out of this, please share it. And today we're talking about you keep starting over because you never fully commit. We see this over and over and over. And having a gym for 7 years, I saw it so many times. And, they get in there for 2 weeks and then they just leave. They'll pay for a whole month, get in there for 2 weeks and just roll out. It's almost like they wanted it, but they didn't want it. They didn't fully want it. They wanted it, but they realized it's just too uncomfortable. It hurts too much. And same with eating, right? It goes on a whole bunch of different things. But there is an addiction to starting fresh. People love the beginnings. I'm one of them. I love the beginning of it, like starting a brand new business, getting everything set up, getting the website, like doing everything. But then once you get into it, it is freaking hard. I'd much rather just start it up and roll out. Start it up and roll out. Start it up, sell it, get out within like a 1 year time period. It's after the first year that it starts to really, really hit on you got to figure it out. You got to get into it. You got to go for it. And it sucks that it is that way, but it just is what it is. But you got to be able to push past it. So why do people love the beginnings? Because beginnings feel exciting, feels hopeful, motivating, it's clean, it's full of possibilities. You're in the dream. You're just dreaming of everything that could happen. And you don't know where it's going to go. You're hoping it's going to go somewhere. And you're just in it. You're loving it. You're setting all this up. And then next thing you know, life really sets in and you got to figure it out. But that's why people love Mondays, January, birthdays, fresh starts, new planners, new programs. They start out the new me, new you, or new year, new me, all those different things. And in reality, it doesn't matter when you start as long as you get started. But the beginnings are emotional. Commitment is different. And most people are addicted to the excitement of starting, not the responsibility of continuing. The continuing is the hardest part. And when you can't continue, you're just going to go on to the next thing that you can start. You're never going to get the results that you're actually looking for if you don't keep putting in the work of what you just started. Why do people keep starting over? Never fully commit. They try, but trying and committing are two different things. Trying says, I'll do this as long as it feels good. Commitment says, I'm staying even when it doesn't. That's where the real emotion, the real battle comes in, is when you got to stay there even when it doesn't feel good anymore. You got to keep going, and it's super hard to keep it going, especially if you're losing money or you're the only one working. You're putting in all this time, you're not seeing any results. The working out is a big time one. You work out 1 or 2 days a week, you're not really going to see results. But if you put in 3 or 4 days a week for 3 or 4 months, you'll start seeing results. But that first month, you don't hardly even see anything. And that's why most people quit. They will just, I've been here 2 weeks and I haven't seen anything. I'm going to quit. I don't want to do this anymore. This hurts. It's uncomfortable. I don't want to do it. They leave the back door open. It's always this plan B that's going to get them. I'll just go do this. People secretly plan their exit. And most times they always try and do it. In business, you should always have an exit plan. You're not trying to keep the thing forever. But you do need to build it up to where you can have an exit plan. Most of them say, if this doesn't work, I will do this. Maybe I'll just blah, blah, blah. I'll see how it goes, and then I'll decide. That's not committing, and that's not commitment. That's testing. That's just basically like dipping your toe in the water saying, I'll try it and see what happens. You don't change your life with 1 foot in and 1 foot out. You got to jump in head first or even feet first. But you got to make both feet jump off the cliff and take that dive down to the bottom. Because, it's going to be rocky and you should come out alive. And it's a rough one. But you got to be committed. If you're not committed, that first rock that you hit, you're going to jump out and be like, I ain't doing this anymore, and just throw in the towel. People confuse motivation with commitment. Motivation feels powerful, but motivation fades really, really fast. Commitment remains. People start when inspired and stop when it's uncomfortable. Motivation starts things, commitment finishes them, along with discipline. And discipline helps you stay committed to the task at hand that you're trying to do. The real reason starting over feels safe is because starting over protects people from accountability, consistency, the patience, long term effort, and confronting failure. They don't want to fail, so they just say, I'm just gonna get out. I don't want to go in too deep. I don't want to be that deep into it. What if I fail? Or, what if, I mean, this just seems like a long time to have to be in this. I just don't want to do that. And because if you restart, you never have to admit that you quit. You get to feel productive again. And that productive feeling, it feels amazing. It feels like you're doing something. It feels like you're changing the world. But as soon as that part's over, it's like you're on a giant graph of a hill. And next thing you know, once that first commitment's over, it just starts going down and kind of levels out. Like there's no more fun, no more excitement until, the next thing comes along. But you really, in business and in working out, all sorts of different things in your life, you got to stay consistent and keep that thing going. It's going to have its ups and downs. But that first part's like this, but you're trying to just be in that middle area, up and down. So starting over can become a socially acceptable way of avoiding consistency. And, that's one of those things that when you're talking to other people and be like, oh, what are you working on? And if you tell them the same boring thing, they're going to be like, oh, that again. So you kind of want to change it up, but you don't, because in reality, the same boring thing is going to get you the results that you're actually looking for, not starting over and looking for the next shiny light object to be like, oh, look at that. Look what I can do now. Why commitment feels so hard? Commitment requires boredom, lots and lots of boredom, repetition, discipline, delayed gratification, and discomfort. All 5 of those are the pillars of working out. Like those will be some of the boringest workouts you ever do. And you got to keep repeating it. You got to stay disciplined. You got to delay the gratification for months. And most people struggle here. Like most people don't understand how people can go through this because they think they need the change all the time. And because commitment kills fantasy, it replaces dreams with work. And the work is the hard part. Like I want to get ripped, but I don't want to do the work. Today's times you take a GLP-1 to get skinny, but you're not going to have a bunch of muscle unless you put in the work to get the muscle. The GLP-1's not taking the muscle away. It just takes away your hunger and you're not eating. But if you take the GLP-1 plus workout and eat right, you're going to become pretty ripped and you're going to have pretty good muscle tone. So it just depends on what you're trying to do, but you still have to put in the work to get the body that you want. Everybody loves the dream. Few people love the repetition requires to build it. Building is the hardest part. You got to stay in it. You got to keep going. You got to live that life. It's a boring life, and it's a lonely life a lot of times. The cost of constantly restarting has consequences. Like anything, everything has consequences. Everything you do has a consequence and a positive action that you can get out of it. It creates low self-trust, frustration, shame, identity confusion, unfinished potential. Like your potential could be better, but if you don't finish and follow through, you're never going to know what your potential could have been. Every restart quality says, I don't trust myself to stay. I'm not going to do it. And that's super painful. And it's just one of those things that if you keep your self-trust low, you're never going to make it in life. You're never going to get anywhere that you want to be in life unless you start following these rules that we put into this podcast of staying consistent, putting in the time, putting in the effort, putting in the boring consistency. Like it'll pay off in the end, but you have to do it. It might be 1 year, it might be 2, it might be 3. Who knows how long, but at some point, if you put in enough time, it's going to pay off. You don't lose confidence because you fail. You lose it because you keep abandoning yourself. Because of the fact that you keep starting over, You're super confident in starting over, but you're not super confident in the boring middle part to try and get it to keep going. So, what real commitment looks like? Commitment looks boring. It looks like showing up tired, staying when progress is slow, repeating the basics, continuing when excitement fades, refusing to negotiate with yourself. Real commitment says, I'm staying longer than my emotions. And that's one of the hardest things to do. Commitment is not intensity, it's endurance. It's like a marathon. But of course, nowadays, like we were saying, a marathon's not a sprint, but this guy sprinted one 26 miles in a 4 something mile pace. Insane. That's sprinting 26.2 miles. Crazy. Crazy, crazy. But commitment looks super boring. You know how boring that guy's life is compared to what you think is fun? To go out there every day. I'm sure he ran like 6 days a week to be able to run that pace, run that far. That means he's putting in 100, 120 miles a week, if not more, of just running. And running's boring anyways. I'm sure he's doing sprints, switching up a little bit. But he's not doing much different than just going out there running. I'm sure he's lifting some kind of weights, but most of those endurance racers don't lift very heavy. They're super lean, super slender. How to stop starting over. Stop waiting for the motivation. It comes and goes. Remove escape language. No, maybe. No, we'll see. Shrink the goal. Consistency does not equal intensity. Commitment or commit publicly or track privately. Create accountability. Have an accountability partner. Let somebody know. Stay through the boring phase. It's always going to be boring. That boring phase is one of the hardest things to stay in. You'll come out of it, you'll go back into it, you come out of it, go back into it. But this is where identity changes. And the magic isn't in starting, the magic is staying in it. Like, I've been working out since 2010, and I've stayed in it for a long time. And, we got our ups and downs. I went through CrossFit went through CrossFit competition, came back out of it, now into high rocks, but now it's into running. Like, it's always something you can keep doing, but if you don't stay consistent, you are not going to get any better at any of it. Like, right now, I'm getting better at running because I've been running 3 days a week for the past little over a year. If I didn't stay committed to that, I would not be where I'm at now. So the closing challenge today, think about something you've started multiple times: the gym, a dream, a habit, a goal, and ask yourself honestly, did I really fail, or did I simply stop committing when it got uncomfortable? This time, don't promise to start stronger. Promise to stay longer. That's the pod. I appreciate everybody listening and watching. Have a great day, and I'll see you on the next one.